Welcome back to another episode of Streetpreneur Podcast, the podcast for innovative entrepreneurs. I'm Melvin McNeil, and I'm your host. Each week, we have real conversations with entrepreneurs, small business owners, and influencers who've built successful companies from the ground up. This show is for side hustlers, beginning entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and also seasoned entrepreneurs. Please hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Today's guest is Mrs. LaShunda Campbell. She's the CEO of Brand for Impact, LLC. She's an award-winning communication specialist. She also helps executive entrepreneurs and small business owners discover their brand. And she's definitely here today to bring us insight. We're going to talk about everything from how to digitalize and monetize your company, content creation, brand strategies, and also touch on the subject of PR. Welcome to Streetpreneur Podcast.
Glad to be here, Melvin. Thank you so much for having me.
Definitely. Can you just tell my audience a little bit about your background, where you're from, and just how you got started in branding and marketing?
Absolutely. So I am a Peach, born and raised from the South Side. I'm from College Park, Georgia. I've ventured out. I've lived different places, but Atlanta is home, so it's nothing like Atlanta.
Okay.
I've always been in marketing and communications before I was formally doing it. Friends, family, everyone would kind of come, could you read this over? How should I say this? So they were always asking me for my advice about it. Mm-hmm. But in around 2009, I had the opportunity to do a campaign with the League of Young Voters Education Fund, and it ended up getting picked up by the news. Okay. And so while I'm at the news, someone's asking me, like, who's the PR agency you're working with? Who did your press release? And I'm like, what is that? I don't know anything about that. And so that was my first time really getting exposed to, like, this is a whole world. And so I formally was trained in public relations and communications at Syracuse University. Okay. I have been doing it strategically for about 20 years now. I know I look young, but you know, I'm up there. Right. It's just my passion. I love to help people tell stories, specifically entrepreneurs, and that's really my story.
Going back, who was your first client, if you can remember? Your very first client that you got your first marketing dollar from?
Well, I'll go with my very first client, who was a retainer client. Okay. So I've had several clients over the years, but Andrea Hayward, and that was Grace Waste Solutions. It is a logistics firm, and she's still my client to this day. Okay. Brilliant lady, former executive in transportation. Mm-hmm. After she retired, she wanted to start her own company, had the relationships, had the expertise, had the network. Okay. But then when she started getting places, they're saying stuff like, share your one-sheeter. You know, do you have a pitch deck? And she found herself saying, you know, at the level she was at in corporate America, she wasn't doing those things. She was only speaking and presenting. And so that's how she engaged me. Right. And it's been a great worldwide since then. Okay.
Explain to my listeners, that's one of the questions that they had, the difference between branding and marketing, because most entrepreneurs think they're both the same, or we're doing the same thing. It equates to the same thing. Just kind of explain the difference between the two, in your opinion.
So that's a great question, and I want to let you know it is not the same thing. They all fall up under the same umbrella, but they are very, very different. Yes. So when I say a brand, if I say to you, Melvin, just do it, what comes to mind?
Nike, automatically.
Automatically. You know, right. They have built a brand. And it's not just the logo, it's the slogan. Yes. It's their actual story. You feel connected. That is what the brand is. It's how you connect with your audience. Okay. On the other side is marketing. Marketing is how you get in front of your audience.
That's true.
That's how you get people to become your clients, and how you build community with them. And so there's several strategies in how you can market online as well as offline, but marketing is actually more of the tactical work that you're doing.
Okay. What are some of the steps that you take a client through, just the process? If I come to you and say, well, I have this idea that I want to turn into a brand, just kind of walk us through some of the steps that you would implement with a new client.
So the very first thing that we're going to do is a brand clarity call, because I need to understand what your goals are. But more importantly, I have to understand if you're my client. And so that's also a big part of it, understanding your audience and your niche, because oftentimes, life be lifing for entrepreneurs. Bills be billing, and you want to say yes to everybody, but everybody is not your client. So I have a brand clarity call first to see
if it's a good fit.
Yeah, are we aligned? Is it somebody that I wouldn't mind picking up the phone for at 10:30 at night? Are you, is there a connection? Is there a vibe there? So that's a part of the brand clarity call. Yeah, but then I'm also looking at your online digital footprint.
Okay.
What does your social media look like? What does your website look like? How many Google reviews? So I'm looking at all of that and then understanding what is it that you're trying to achieve. Okay. So recently I had 2 actual stylists to reach out to me.
Okay.
One stylist was at a salon for 10 years, and she was venturing out and she wanted to have her own shop. And so she's going through the process of, working with the realtor to get her a place. So for her, her goal was to launch her brand as a new stylist in a new location. Okay. On the flip side, I had established hairstylist reach out, and what she was trying to do was launch a new product for dandruff. And so her whole focus, she's like, I don't need to focus on me. I need to focus on the product. So having that brand clarity call really helps me to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve and if we're a good fit to work with each other.
Okay. I want to talk about the storytelling aspect of it. How important is to a brand or a new company that's trying to start and they want to be able to express that to the general public? Tell them why is it important to have a story behind the brand, and how does that can make or break how the public sees your company?
I cannot say this enough. I can't shout it through the roof. A brand story is so important.
Why?
I would even
why is it important?
It's because it's how you actually connect with people. People buy from individuals from your brand for things that really resonate with them, and they see themselves in you. Okay. A brand story, it's just the beginning. It's the beginning of helping someone understand why your company or your business makes sense. You need to tell your brand story so people can connect with you. It's that simple. And, stories, people remember stories over, hey, I'm selling this today, blah, 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 blah. But if you say, hey, I struggled with eczema all of my life. As a child, I was teased. Like, you just make that connection to the product.
Okay. And how has social media changed since when you started what year?
Oh, in 2009, really.
Yeah.
2009 was my beginning, but my actual brand for Impact opened in 2022.
Okay. How has social media now changed as far as a brand now? Is it something that's, every company now must implement? How do you see the change and how it has affected the industry since when you first started? How has social media changed the landscape of marketing and branding now?
I think it's changed it a lot. We went from cold calling to now you're sliding in DMs. You have direct access to talk to people that years ago you never would have had the ability to actually get out in front of them.
That's true.
So I think social media has been a avenue and a channel for people to actually get out and get ahead. But now here's the thing about social media. You ask the question, should everybody be doing it? Yes. And it's always that and. Yeah. Yes, and if you're going to engage. Don't launch a social media channel and you don't have the ability to actually continue to post content and talk to people, because essentially
That's true.
What it is imagine, the building that we're in right now. If no one was at the front desk, you're inviting people to come, check us out. Talk to Melvin, and when they get there, the door is locked. No one is staying there. That's essentially what it means when you're not engaged on social media. So you have the opportunity to be out in front, but if you're not engaging, if you're not giving people new content, then it's almost like no one's there.
Right. Let's touch on the PR side of the business. Is that still relevant today in 2025 as far as getting your clients placed in media publications, radio, television? Is that old model died, or a person should focus all their PR marketing strategies now on social media?
So publicity will never die. It's important for brand visibility. I think press releases have pivoted because anybody can send a press release through the wire, and journalists get thousands of press releases a day. And so I don't always recommend a press release, but if you have a press release with a story, now that's a winner.
That makes sense.
Oh, it makes a difference. And so a lot of people don't realize sometimes when you put press release out, there's a cost associated to that.
What do you mean? What do you mean by cost?
Sending a press release through the wire costs money.
Okay.
And so you need to figure out, is this newsworthy enough for me to invest spending money to put it on the wire, or should my dollars be used for digital marketing?
Okay.
And so you're still getting ahead. But, I think what I found is oftentimes when people hear public relations, they think big brands. Big brands. And I want to shift that mindset. You have to look at yourself as a big brand. Sometimes I meet people and they say, oh, I got a little notary business, or I have nothing little about you. Okay, you're a big dog. And you have to feel that way. You have to walk in the room. And so I think investing in public relations is great for brand launches or just for overall opportunities to get in front of media and create some visibility and to just amplify you as an expert in that space.
Okay. And what are some of the mistakes that you see entrepreneurs doing as far as their marketing campaigns as far as them trying to do it themselves? A lot of people are like, why should I hire her firm and I can just do it myself by watching a YouTube video?
How's that working for you?
I know you hear that somebody like, I can do this myself,
and you absolutely can. And so when I have conversations, I think for entrepreneurs, one of the biggest struggles is time management.
That's true.
And you need to be able to allocate and designate. You need to be able to allocate and designate to other experts. You need to free up your time. So if this is not your strength, then go ahead and work in the area where you are the strongest so you can have the greatest impact.
Okay.
So that's what I would say.
Okay. And what is some of the biggest lessons you learned from working with entrepreneurs as far as handling their branding and their PR and just overall? Just what have you learned just in general that you can share with our listeners as far as when it relates to your industry?
So one of the smallest nuggets that I would share, and I want to look in the camera and say this, stop engaging new customers with Gmail and Yahoo accounts. Now, I think it's okay to have these conversations after you've built some type of rapport. But I think oftentimes as you scale up, you really need to invest in having hello at such and such. Because it's a way for people who have not come through you, the referrals. So referrals are great. And actually, majority of my business comes from referrals. But I've noticed when I am approached through my website and I respond with my Gmail, because I can do it from both, and I don't know the person, I don't ever get a bite back. So there is a perception of that. Yeah, like you're not as professional, and it's not true. I mean, LaShunda at Gmail versus hello at Brand for Impact. Same person. I'm the same one you're going to get. I'm going to show up, but it's the perception. It's the bigness.
This being an actual company versus somebody just at home with a regular email address.
I just said that. It gives a certain perception.
Yeah, it does. Let's talk about some of your digital marketing tactics. What are some of those digital marketing tactics would you recommend for entrepreneurs or people coming to you? What do you recommend some of the digital marketing tactics that should be used or implemented in their business?
So definitely we always start with the branding audit. So I can look at your overall landscape. And I provide individualized plans. Nothing is like, oh, here you go, because not one size fits all. So after we complete that audit in your industry, because the thing to understand also about social media is with the algorithms,
Yes.
you need to know about timing and posting for your particular audience. So someone who's very interested in, the beauty industry, they may not be on the same time as someone who is more interested into the retail space or the restaurant. So understanding your audience really helps with the time and place in terms of when you're posting content.
Okay. Let's talk about some of the PR. Let's go back to kind of touch on PR again. How do you handle a client situation that's going through a crisis? And they call you up at the last minute, I need help with, what we're going through right now as a company. It might be anything from somebody trying to sue them, or they've gotten some bad publicity for something they did in their personal life. What would you recommend?
So crisis is my middle name. I do not know why.
I know you put out fires all the time.
I put out fires all day long. In fact, when I just went on spring break with my daughter, she said, "Mommy, I cannot believe you didn't have your phone with you." So I got through spring break without any crises. It happens, right? Mm-hmm. It's unplanned, and I think the first line of action is to really dissect the problem and determine whether you want to address it head on as a spokesperson or if you want to have a blanketed statement. And I think you need to do the groundwork. Right. I'm not going to talk about that crisis.
Okay. All right, talk about it.
No, I'm going to leave that one alone.
Give us a little idea about what it's about. But.
So, I've worked in crises dealing with healthcare. I've worked in crises with sexual harassment. When legal is involved. And so a recent crisis that we heard about with the Black-owned product was with Miele, right? Okay. And at the root of it, they were saying that some of the products were causing women to lose their hair. And this is a product that, Black women in and out of my community, they have loved. And so they went through a moment where people stopped buying their products. People were online burning it. It was just a very, very bad moment. Okay. And at first they were silent, which I was like, where are we going with this strategy? And then the CEO came out and she made, a statement just invalidating the claims. And she basically alluded to it was an employee that spreaded this fire. But she went a step further, which I think helped to kind of slow down the criticism, which was to invite consumers into the actual manufacturing factories to see the people who are working on the products, to give a behind-the-scenes glance. So I think that's a really good example of how something was on fire and they took the narrative and got ahead of it. Something right now, I was going to say with the Shannon Sharp situation, he decided to step away. I think that was a good decision. I don't think he should have been as vocal, but I do think stepping down is best. And that opportunity, again, after the heat kind of blows down, I believe his brand can be repaired.
Can come back.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, okay. Do you take on startup companies?
I do. So I do believe in niching down. That's what I also tell you all the time. But I work from startups all the way to you have a business that's generating millions of dollars and you're looking to rebrand. Okay.
And so I'm just using it as a scenario. I come to you with $500. I want to increase my brand. How can you help me?
We need to do a brand clarity call, and I'll do a brainstorming session, and I'll provide some suggestions and recommendations that I see that I believe could make immediate impact for you. Okay.
Who have been some of your most successful clients?
So,
or are they in like a certain product? Just say if a person is selling, like you just mentioned, hair care products, who are your client out of your group of clients have been the most successful, and that you find what are those businesses that you tend to see have the most success?
So definitely realtors.
Okay.
I've been able to help them with their content creation. And
why realtors? I mean, cut you off. Go ahead.
Well, they have a very beautiful product that they're typically showing out, which is homes. But I've seen a lot of success with just the realtor market and creating their content, doing a day in the life, following them around, just helping them create their content.
Okay. As far as is that something that your company does? Is like content day, or
Yep.
how do you package that? And is it all day thing, or just for a couple of hours? I mean, what's all included in a content strategy?
So for the content days, that usually starts at $750, and that is for 6 hours of content.
Okay.
That's me following you everywhere except for the bathroom to just help your community understand what it is that you do and what a typical day in your life looks like.
Okay.
And from there, we'll do 4 reels. And you'll get about 12 pieces of content along with the copy to post with recommendations in terms of time of day. Okay. We, of course, have the brand clarity conversation at the top of the hour. And so that's typically what a day in the life looks like.
Okay. And you being a successful businesswoman, how do you handle your business life from your personal life? What do you do to unwind? What do you do to relax? Just to relieve stress and what it is that you do on a daily basis.
What business life and personal life, they're not the same thing? You just told me something. It's hard.
Okay, how do you balance?
It's hard.
What's the balance that you do?
So I've recently integrated walking because as I get older, I do see that my metabolism isn't what it used to be. Okay. I find moments to just hang out with my girlfriends. I have little dance parties, and of course I travel when I can, but the nature of the work that I do, it really is 24 hours. And
yes, it is.
That's one of the hard things about being an entrepreneur. I have had to be on vacation, and I was just about to step on a boat that didn't have reception. But if I didn't do this, it would delay something else, and a rush fee would have cost the extra $3,000. So how do I manage that?
Yes. I
say, hey, please, is there any way we can, the excursion? They said, no, the excursion still has to go. Yeah. And so I had to make a choice. So, I've heard this 1,000 times when I was in corporate America as well as from fellow entrepreneurs. You can't be 100% at everything. That's and true. So, I do the best I can. I'm a mom. I do the best that I can. I don't have any advice. So, listeners, if you have some advice on how I can manage my schedule a little bit better in terms of work-life balance, I would love to hear it. Please share the suggestions.
Let's kind of touch on current trends. What are some of the current trends that you see right now as far as digital marketing and just content creation, or where you are now? Based, when you first started in the industry, what are the current things that I think people are gravitating towards?
User-generated content. So it's often called UCG. I think UCG is a powerful tool for business owners. And to just break it down, what UCG is unsolicited testimonials from clients. Okay, so I think you should be asking for feedback. Right. We can get into that later. I think that's a missed opportunity and big mistake that entrepreneurs make. They don't ask for enough feedback. Okay. But user-generated content is essentially someone singing the praises of your business, your brand, your product without you asking it. And you take that user-generated content with their permission and you turn it into a digital ad. I cannot tell you how many products I have bought that have popped up as ads just from someone saying, I tried this, I loved it, and so you know that it's organic. And I think UCG is a big digital trend that we need to tap into. Okay.
And how has AI technology helped your business? Do you use it in your marketing and your PR strategy? How has it changed the way you do business?
Absolutely. So, again, I'm professionally trained from Syracuse in terms of communication. So the first time when I heard about AI around October 2022, I was like, they're not going to take my job. There's a certain level of authenticity that always going to be needed for a human voice, right? But I do use AI. I got past my fear, because fear is not a part of my success equation, and I did start to embrace AI, and I really use it more so for copy editing. I'll use it to generate ideas, but most of everything, I'm feeding it and I'm asking it, how does this sound?
Okay. And you also help a lot of entrepreneurs as far as with their special events, as far as book signings and other special events that they have. How did you get involved in that? Is that just one of your services that you offer?
Yep, that falls up under branding. So we have the branding. All together, I really look at brand for impact in 3 areas. The first is the strategy. Okay. So that's understanding. That's usually where you don't have a bigger budget and you just need help and guidance and you want to take the wheels and you run. So brand strategy is a lot of us whiteboarding, planning, market research, and I'm packaging everything up for you. The next area is content creation, which is an example of what we talked about with the content days, where we're following you, where we're producing pieces of content for you to put across several channels and platforms. And then the third piece is really around positioning and thought leadership, and that falls into like publicity more so. And so sometimes a brand is already established and they have a new product or service that they're wanting to launch, and then I step in and try to help them with the thought leadership. 2 recent clients that I have had, one an accountant and the other a doctor, both took their expertise and they put it in a book. And so I helped them with their brand launches for the book releases.
Okay. What is one myth about marketing that you wish people would stop doing?
I got a lot of them. One myth.
That you hear people talk about or doing on a, I ain't gonna say a daily basis, but.
Give me a second. I want to give you a good, well thought out response to this. I would probably say, yes, marketing is about getting ahead and visibility, but I think one of the bigger myths is that people think if a lot of folks are following them, or if they buy followers, so that's a whole nother conversation. I had someone that actually she came to me, she had 20,000 followers, and I was like, oh, okay, so she has a community. And then I started to kind of go do a SWOT analysis of the page, and I noticed you have 3 likes here, you have 4 likes. The math is not mathing.
Yeah, we just talked about
the
that.
math is not mathing, and so I want people to really focus on impactful, meaningful results as opposed to vanity metrics. So people say, oh, I have 20,000 followers, but you have 3 people that have engaged. Right. And so I want entrepreneurs to change the mindset around just a lot of people need to see it. No, a lot of people need to get value from what you said. You want conversions. You want customers. So I would much rather have 50 people in a room and 30 sign up with me than have 202 people sign up.
I got you. So that kind of falls under the line of organic followers versus paid followers.
Absolutely. Stop paying.
Yeah, we've had that conversation.
It looks good, but it's not taking you nowhere. In actuality, it shows that it helps you to go down in the algorithm.
Yeah.
Because, you have all of these bots and the numbers are here, but nobody's engaging. So what it tells Instagram, what it tells TikTok is that nobody's interested in what he or she is talking about.
That's true.
And so this is not something that's going to end up on the suggested content page for you because you have numbers, but you have no genuine interest.
That's true. You hit it right on the head. Do you have any products or services that you're doing right now that you're offering the general public? Maybe an ebook, maybe a course, or is there anything that you, special projects that you have going right now? Maybe a speaking engagement, workshop, seminar?
Yep. So I actually am in the process of completing a book, and the book is about branding. I'm hoping to get that published by September of this year. That's one thing that I'm working on. Another thing that I've found success is branding workshops. And so next quarter, I'm going to launch a branding a branding workshop. It's very intimate, so I never take in more than 15 people, and we actually have a half day, and we go through their brand. I have other experts in the room, and it's kind of think of like speed dating.
Yeah.
Where you're rotating, so there are different areas from the website to your logo. Do you need a logo rebrand? All of that is happening in these workshop sessions.
Okay, that sounds good. Make sure you attend that. Do you have a date?
I don't have a date. I'm currently looking at venues. I've done it at the Russell Innovation Center for Entrepreneurs before, and I've also done it at the Commerce Club.
Okay. Give me your opinion on this. It's a big topic right now. Big trend in the news has already been taking place. Give me your opinion on the Target. Is Target brand finished, or is the image of Target, is it needs a remake, or what do you think needs to happen with Target? If you were handling that account for Target right now, what would you be doing? Or how would you help them in that crisis situation right now? I just want to hear your opinion overall.
Target messed up.
Think it's over? It's not over, but the consumers will come back.
I don't think it will.
You don't think the consumers?
Absolutely.
Not to where it was.
No, it will never be the same.
Right. Okay.
Because.
And why?
Target was known for something very, very particular, which was a place where they had sold great products and quality, but inclusion was what they built it on. Okay. It was one of the few stores that any month you go into, whether it is Hispanic Heritage Month, Black History Month, LBGT, inclusion was what they sold, and that is what people loved. And so to take a stance or a position that is totally different than what you said and built your community off of, I think they messed up. Will they come back? Yes. Have I been there since all of this has happened? One time, and when I went in, Melvin, I was like, nobody see me. I hope I don't see nobody. But I was.
The atmosphere wasn't the.
No, it was empty.
Right.
It didn't even smell the same.
Okay, I got you. All right. And one more thing we want to touch on right now, that's a current topic, is luxury brands. And a lot of Chinese manufacturers have been exposing about the luxury brands that they're actually made there versus by the manufacturers who they claim that's where their particular brand originated from. So just give us your opinion on that. Will they hurt those luxury brands, or will those luxury brands continue to have the same customers? They're not really concerned about advertising that much. You don't see that many Louis Vuitton or Gucci ads being placed around because they feel like the customers are going to come regardless. So will this, in the news that's being exposed now with their industry inside secrets being revealed, will that hurt customers or will it hurt the brand?
No, I think the customers of those luxury brands, they like the idea of being able to spend thousands of dollars. So I do believe that many of the consumers who were purchasing will continue to support.
They will.
But now, for the ones who were trying to put on and, they spent their last just to have that Birkin bag, and now they know there's a cheaper option, they're out the door. Okay. But I think that many of the luxury brands had built a established community, and they're going to see some loss in customers, but I don't think that it will be significant. There's been a lot more conversation, though.
There's a lot of conversation right now.
Yeah, luxury brands are now getting more into the not the retail, but the restaurant and the dining space. So you see brands that are having pop-ups, Dior coffee shop. So they're giving you that same experience. It's way more than Starbucks coffee.
Just going into a new industry.
Yeah,
hospitality.
They're entering the hospitality. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. One more question.
Okay.
And I'm out. As far as individual brand of celebrities, we just, in the recent news, Floyd Mayweather made a big purchase and he's been buying. Of course, everybody knows his spending habits. That's Money Mayweather. Just kind of give us your opinion on the person that's being marketed as the brand himself in that image. What happens when a person gets in financial trouble, might be looking at a bankruptcy? How important is it to protect your brand as an individual, as a celebrity, or in a person that's building a high, just like Shannon Sharp, he built a brand. Shay Shay is an individual brand within itself. So what are just some of the things that people need to do to protect their brand? That's what I'm asking.
So there's a huge conversation right now going on around trust, and I think it is important. I think people that don't look like you and I have already had a lot of knowledge around separating and protecting their businesses from being sued.
Yes.
So I think looking more into taking your personal brand and turning it into a trust is the way to go, especially with this new administration.
Okay. And what does the trust protect?
You against all liabilities.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you may get sued, but the trust you don't own. You don't own anything. The trust owns it, and so they can't sue the trust because the trust is over everything.
I got you. All right. Is there anything else you want to add before we leave? Make sure you give them your contact information, those who want to reach out for your services.
And thank you for the opportunity. It was great to talk with you. I love what you're doing. I want to help as many small business owners, not only in Atlanta, but beyond, to discover their brand story and to deliver it with the sauce. There are so many entrepreneurs and founders doing really great work. They have an expertise that I know nothing about, but I have an expertise that they know nothing about. And I would like to bridge the two to help amplify the brands and get them bigger bags.
Yeah, and before we leave, just kind of give entrepreneurs 5 tips that they need for their brand. Just 5 key pieces of advice that all entrepreneurs need to do is concerning marketing and branding.
So 5 tips that I would give every entrepreneur in terms of their brand is, first, have a style guide. Be consistent in your voice. Again, we talked about Nike is the same with McDonald's. They look the same regardless of what day it is. And so I would say be consistent in your brand voice. And one of the ways you can do that is with a style guide. I would say show up on social media. Don't just set the page. Be consistent, engage, talk with your network. Have a Gmail and a personal website connected to your business, just so you can give the perception of a big brand, because that's what you are. I would say, fourthly, get feedback from your community. This is a big one that is missed. You're doing well and you're moving at light speed, but you're not taking the time to hear back. I'll give a very brief example of a consumer that a consumer product that I had purchased, and I received it. It came 14 days after I placed the order, and the box was so rattered and tattered, you would have thought someone stumped on it before it was delivered to me. And the owner actually reached out for feedback, and I shared that advice, like, I could have got this product a lot quicker. So, that's an area of opportunity, as well as the packaging, the presentation wasn't good. And he said, "You're the 5th person to tell me this. I'm changing it." And that small feedback, he could constantly
ignore it.
He can ignore it. And guess what? You're not going to have customers that return over and over and over. Nobody wants to receive something all mangled. And so I think asking for that customer feedback is important. And then the last part is just have a brand story. Let people know who you are, what you can do for them, and why they need you.
Yeah, or come to you and get professional help with your story. To get your story crafted. A lot of people don't know where to begin to craft that story.
Correct.
Yeah.
So I'm here. You can connect with me at www.brandforimpact.net. That is the number 4, not the word. I'm happy to help. You can also send me an email at hello@brandforimpact.net.
All right. Well, we want to thank you for coming out, taking time out of your busy schedule to come to Streetpreneur Podcast today. And wish you much success. I'm sure God is going to continue to bless you in all your business endeavors. And please hit that like, share, subscribe button, and stay tuned for next week when we'll be back with another entrepreneur. thank you, and I'm sure you enjoyed the broadcast today.
I did. Thank you so much for having me. And if you need any services, you know how to connect.
I'm definitely going to call you.
All right.
Thank you, and stay.